Now, into that social status, we're going to pour the role. The role is the behavior, expected behavior of people who have that status ranking, that position in the society. We expect them to act certain ways. If you're in the role of nurse or doctor in here, if someone passes out on the floor, believe me, nobody in here is going to yell, "Is there a sociologist in the room?" And aren't some of you going to change your status and go from a student all of a sudden to a professional status? That'd be quite a shock to you, actually. Now, what happens is that over a brief period of time, this status or the role, because it's actually your behavior that's expected of you in that position, becomes a part of your identity. It becomes a part of who you are. So roles, social roles, are very powerful. Very powerful. You take a captain who went through boot camp and has, like me, if I had my when I had my master's degree, the military wanted me to come. And so I was supposed to go in as a captain. Now, let's imagine that I get a ranking of a lieutenant or captain because I go to OCS school. And so you're just one of the people down there that in the low status group, like the people with the gray shirt and the rolled up pants. And all of a sudden you become a first lieutenant and you walk across the base with your uniform on and all these people start saluting you. And you go, "Ooh, what are they saluting me for?" And you feel kind of uncomfortable. I'll guarantee you that within 3 months you'll walk across the base, and when they don't salute you, you'll yell at them for not. Because now being a lieutenant has become part of your personal identity. So our roles, expected behavior of people in certain positions or statuses, is expected behavior of people who are in that. Like I said, someone passes out, you want somebody in the role of nurse, doctor, EMT. So we all have a set of roles that we go in and out of all day long, a set of statuses. When I woke up this morning, I was in status of husband because my wife was talking to me. And we were talking about who's going to drive who to work, actually, because we're running late. And then I was cook, because I cooked breakfast for both of us. And then I was take care of the dog person, because I took the dog out and I fed him and I gave him his medicine. He has seizures, so he's actually on phenobarbital. So it was kind of funny. We went to get his medicine, and it's a scheduled narcotic he takes, and his name is Harley. So we go to the pharmacy to get his meds. The vet writes the script, so we go there to get it. And the person says, "Well, Harley needs to sign for this because you have signed the first time for a scheduled narcotic." And I said, "Well, Harley's a dog." "Oh, well, then I guess he doesn't need to sign." I said, "He could give you a paw print, maybe." Role. Expected behavior. You don't expect people to come in and get scheduled narcotics that aren't human beings, right? Do you see how it affects your behavior? Okay. So there's role sets. After I was husband, then I was passenger, actually, because my wife drove and dropped me off. When I went to the next meeting, I was division head. Then I was that with the secretary when we talked about what we need to do today. And then I come here, and when I walk in here, I'm an associate professor. of sociology. Now, when I leave here tonight and head home, I'll go back to husband role, or the driver, chauffeur for the kids maybe babysitter if my grandkids come over, or granddad. I like that role. I hope to get that every day if I can. Okay, do you see the role sets we all have? Don't you guys have a role set too? Didn't some of you get up and you're mom or dad? And then you come here and you're student? Did any of you ever go home and try to stay in the student role when the little ones are home? And what do? They're not buying it, are they? Because to them, you're always mom. And you're always required to be in that role. And they have expected behavior of you, which is to feed them, usually in my house. Because when I go in at 4, my granddaughter's there, she's, "Granddad, fix me something to eat," because I'm the cook. Ira Silver, as a matter of fact, studies role exit from high school student to college student. And Silver is going to look at freshmen who are moving out of their house and they're moving up to a campus where they're going to live in a dorm. And so they're going to be first-time, full-time college students at a university and live there on campus like you would go to Stillwater at OSU and live in the dorm. Now, Silver says when we make that transition and we pull up stakes and we go to a strange place, we take some things with us to remind us of our previous roles, because that helps us to adjust. So he says when we exit one role, we take 2 things with us when we go. One he calls anchors. So do you guys take anchors with you when you go from one role to the other? Okay. An anchor is something that you it connects you to your past. It's a sentimental object that we carry with us. So, can you guys name some anchors in your room? What? Photos, absolutely. Now, the other thing we take is called markers. Now, most people don't take a lot of anchors with them, Silver says, when they go. They take maybe one. But they take lots of markers, and markers are things, are objects that mark us at this time in our life, what we're like, that tell something about us. Bumper stickers are markers if you put it on the car. You never know if someone bought the car or not, but the one that says, "You'll get my gun when you pry my cold dead fingers from the barrel," probably says something about a person that would put one on a car like that. That they're probably a rifle member, National Rifle Association. They believe in people having guns and arming themselves. Would you agree? Or Dr. Baker's car, he's a minister. When the rapture happens, this car will melt with fervent heat, he says. He actually writes bumper stickers for cars. That's part of his writings he does. Makes some money doing that, actually. Okay. So, you get the idea? They state where we are now. So, when I went, I had a poster on my wall, and it was of Led Zeppelin. And people would come in and say, "Oh, you're a Led Zeppelin fan," and I'd say, "Well, more than that. You can't get that poster unless you're at the concert, and then you have to buy it, do you see? So I'm more than a fan. I'm a real fan." Stereo, the music we take, it marks us, don't you think? So when you go into someone's bedroom or dorm room or house, and you look around and you see what's on the wall, what the markers and anchors are, you really see what's important to them, don't you? Now, if we're in roles, then we can have role conflict and we can have role strain. Now, role conflict is 2 or more roles, and role strain is only 1 role. So that's the difference between the two. Role conflict, conflict between 2 or more roles you hold. Role strain, conflict within 1 role. We've got new division secretaries, actually academic advisors, who are in every division this year. Poor girl has me for a boss, and she also has the head of enrollment for a boss. She has 2 bosses. Ever been there? 2 bosses with competing ideas that don't go together. She was about to go bonkers, and I met with her and I said, "Oh, well, you're in role strain. I'm telling you one thing, he's telling you something else. Why don't we just go with him? And we'll knock that out. So just do that first. Then we'll talk about what I expect of you later." That's role strain. Now, when I was a therapist, a person came in to see me and they want me in an hour to give a diagnosis of the person so they can bill it with insurance. So I see this person and the diagnosis is normal. Now, that doesn't happen very often, because usually if you're coming into a mental health center and you're wanting help, you got a problem and you'll have a diagnosis, you'll be anxious or depressed or something. But this person came in and really didn't need to be there. If everything had happened to me that had happened to that person, I would have been depressed too. Okay, there were so many things that happened at one time that he was normal. So I put down normal and told him he really didn't need treatment. He could go ahead and go on and he'd be fine, and he was. Then the place comes up and says, "We need a diagnosis because we need our $120 for that intake you did that we're going to bill. And you need to give him a diagnosis." And I said, "No, his diagnosis is normal. It's actually V7109, which means no diagnosis. Give him a diagnosis of depression or anxiety so we can bill it and get our money." No. Caught between ethics and an organization that wanted to make money. Do you see the strain? That's role strain. 1 position, 2 different expectations. Caught between an HMO and what's best for the patient. Caught between a doctor and your nursing ethics can be role strain. Now, role conflict is 2 roles. Now let's imagine, well, on Thursday nights, sometime during the winter time, these set of dancers come through town, male dancers, the Chippendale dancers. And my wife likes to go watch them with her buddies. And so they'll always say, "Okay, we're going out Thursday night." And I'll say, "Oh, all right." And she says, "We're going to go watch Chippendale dancers and have fun." And I say, "Oh, okay, see you later." And off she goes. Now let's imagine she looks up on the stage and out comes our priest. Oh, gosh. Role conflict. You get the idea? 2 different roles conflicting. You go to a bar, you order a drink, it's your minister who's the bartender. That's role conflict. Whoa, for you. Okay? 2 positions that conflict with one another. You're a good friend with the whole group of people you're working with. You get promoted, you become their supervisor. Now there's role conflict. They're used to you hanging out with them and going out with them, and now you can't. Now you got to tell them what to do, and when you do, they'll go, "Come on, you're not that kind of boss, are you?" And you'll go, "Well, I'm responsible for this stuff." That's role conflict for you. 2 different positions at the same time. Okay. Now remember how powerful these are actually? Remember? They become part of your identity.